Hello folks, Brews here. Let's talk about something interesting this time around. So we're gonna talk about standard brews after Pro Tour Amonkhet. So what can we do if we don't wanna, join one of the major established decks? So how do we address that with some creativity and analysis? So we have Averworks, we have the Marvel, we have zombies, then we have marked vehicles that will be lurking around no matter what. So what do we do about this? So we can turn to Esper control. Why this? Well, let's see what kind of stellar cards we have access to. We have Sensor for basically whatever slash Marvels, right? That's pretty important. And the Fang Cycles. So that's cool, right? Access to commit is actually interesting because we can, um, it's a flexible answer. So we can address anything on board or in the stack, and we can later cache this in. And memory is actually interesting because they'd have to shuffle the grave in, so that's good upside against zombies. So overall, just a flexible card to have access to. Cast out for Marvels, for Olamogs, for all the zombies that might be coming back. Declaration installed for all the zombie tokens for Olamog as well, for the Virtuoso top tier tokens too. Descent against Olamog and the zombies of course, and plus in a proper build you might switch on Delirium to get a 4/4 token as a bonus. And Tendrils for zombies again. It also is not completely dead against Marvel. If you somehow decide to tack it in as one of into main deck, but it's not like amazing. It kills off top tier refiners, servants, but it doesn't kill Virtuoso and trackers most of the time. So what else we have? Well, we have the classic black-white legends. So Gisela is good against Mardu and zombies. Its lifelink, its first strike is a solid body. Yes, they will disintegrate slash push it slash grasp it, but if they don't have an answer immediately, the impact is already done. And then you have Skeletus, which has been proving to be good against vehicles, and definitely will be also good against zombies too. Plus this, the ability to exile is really good against zombies. And yeah, post Hybrid we have access to something like Linvala, for example, to get back on track against pretty much any aggro. It's also important that it's a flyer against Marvel, for example, but I don't think you will bring it in against Marvel. But you might want to bring it against Blue-Red, I think. Because it's just a big threat that could sometimes snatch you a free token as well. But probably you will have enough stuff to bring in against Blue-Red. We have Ori, which most of the time is just better than Essence Scatter. The only time when Essence Scatter is better than Ori is when you have to counter Torrential Gear Hulks and, for example, Green Hulks too. So in those cases, that Ori is bad. But you will probably run a split between main and side, and inside main too. Tally is good because, well, it's another thing to get off the Talus Lancers, and well, just prevents vehicles from overrunning, and first strike body is good against zombies, for example, because it even prevents free toughness zombies to attack. I mean. Pretty much any zombie plus the pump from Mastery or the Lord. But if they have both, then you're kind of in trouble. But you're probably not gonna rely on Talia, but you do have some other tools. And yeah, Lancers is pretty much OP in this deck because you can get like Tele or Giselo or Kalitas, things of that nature. You're probably gonna play Brune in the sideboard as well. I don't think that deck actually wants Archangel Elsin, but it depends. It depends. So there are a few more useful tools outside of Lost Legacy and Disposes, which you're probably gonna play too. You can actually dedicate something like 4 sideboard slots to Marvels and kind of hedge and have flexibility. You can play like 1 Ceremonious Rejection, the 1 mana counter Carless spell. You can play 1 Dismissal to basically counter Olomok with its trigger, so you're not gonna lose any lands or planeswalkers. Then you can run 1 Lost Legacy and 1 Dispossess. So I think that's not a bad plan, just kind of like diversify the package a little bit. Of course you will have Unmaking for everything. For zombies that you wish wouldn't come back. For Marvels and Olamogs, for opposing planeswalkers, and so on, for Chandras basically. For vehicles as well. And then there is this guy. So you're probably going to play it on the side, and the point is that even without a lot of energy production, this is still pretty good. So timely when you, let's say, dealt with a Lord, dealt with a Mastery, so there are no pumps on board. This is a pretty good bit stick blocker slash board wipe. And then the last ability is actually relevant. I would actually bring this in against certain Marvel builds, the ones that are more creature heavy, obviously. And yeah, if you reanimate some rogue refiners and stuff like that, that's not bad. It's just like good bonus, good mana sink or energy sink. And then again, you might be playing some Stroke of Genius, Aver Hubs, that kind of stuff. So you'd have a few extra energy counters here and there. Okay, moving on. This is kind of a rogue idea, so probably should have been grouped a little bit differently for these slides, but still. Trust me on this. This actually might be a thing. Probably blue-red control is just better, but I wouldn't discard this idea right away. I think this might have future. Well, obviously post-rotation, yeah, because there will be a smaller card pool for the format. But yeah, in the right deck you could do stuff about it. Of course, Cryptic Serpent is much better in Modern or in Legacy even, as a spear like Bedlam Reveler, kinda. Just a 2 mana 6/5 because of Gitaxian probes and fetches. In Modern you can't even like cast Gitaxian now. But it might still have a home in a dedicated tempo deck in Standard. You might really want to mill yourself, but then again, all the cycles feed into this anyway, and you might just, you know, throw in some Lightning Axe and stuff like this, and then you, or Cathartic Reunion, and then you have this thing pretty fast. And yeah, if you just play in a, you know, certain manner, keep up the spells, negates, sensors and stuff like this just to protect us, and then maybe even play those 1 mana spells from Zendikars, the one that like you haste, draw a card, and then can be blocked, draw a card. All of those 1-drops you feed into Drakes and Serpents, and you also can, you know, speed up the deck really well, and Unblockable Serpent or Unblockable Drake is just crazy, or just give them haste for that matter. So yeah, I can see a future for this deck, and if you play all those 1 mana spells that like cantrip, you can also play Thing in the Ice, which is pretty good against zombies. Of course they would have access to push, but you can, um, play around this by just keeping mana open, and once they will try to push it, because they would want to get rid of it because it's a good blocker against that deck. So you can just chain those 1 mana spells and bounce their board, and half of their board will be tokens, so you'd be really happy about this. Even if they push this, plus you'd be having, some cheap counter spells too, so you can maybe sometimes even protect your thing from a push or grasp or stuff like that. So this is just worth testing, I think, in a kind of more, um, I wouldn't say solved, but more known meta. And then you still have this option, so you can play this deck. I think it's powerful, so it's probably not that good against blue control decks, but the point here is that you just have to start thinking how to beat decks like zombies or martyr vehicles. Well, if you just beat them down with really big creatures that they can't answer on board, and can only rely on removal, of which they have a good amount, but not a crazy amount. And yeah, you can also defend it with the defense. Well, you don't need to defend the gods, obviously, outside of, exile effects, but you can defend the hydras and brawlers with blossoming defense, for example. So that's a legitimate thing. And if some of your stuff dies, well, you're not like too unhappy, because if you construct your deck in a certain way, you can just always keep on pressure. And the point of this deck is because, well, all of your stuff is really big, so they'll have to throw in multiple creatures to get rid of them. Or in some case, like with guts, they can't even do that, so they can champ block. But Ronus gives out trample with its ability, and Hydra has trample, for example, things like that. So yeah, so I think it's worth testing out, because now we are actually, having in mind just limited number of decks, basically. Because before the Pro Tour, we could have thought that like multiple things were viable, but now we know that quite many decks are actually just not playable. Here's some just good tags. Well, Avacyn is good for zombies, of course, coupled with a Selfless Spirit, for example. So I'm just reminding you, like, there are a lot of things you can do to address the top dogs that emerged after the Pro Tour. So yeah, we saw Manglehorn being a thing in the Marvel mirrors, for example. It's a good part about it. Not only it's it's a blocker. It destroys the thing right away. It also makes that future Marvels are actually they can't activate them straight away because they come in tap, so they can't spin it immediately. And then top tiers from Virtuoso come tapped, so this way you can maybe sometimes try to raise properly. And Drana is interesting because it's been already tried out in Black-Green Snake, so in the Black-Green aggro. Probably not in the energy one, but I think it belongs more definitely into the energy version than to a slower version of that archetype. And yeah, you get double the counters, well, extra counters from the Constrictor. It flies, it first strikes. Also could be a thing in the Esper control or black-white mid-range. So it's another target for the Lancers, for example. So yeah, if you just make sure that Olamogs and Marvels or Chandras are not that bad, then maybe you don't actually need blue. Blue was there mainly to be able to control those things, but if you put in all those Dispossessed Lost Legacy, Transgress, and then Declaration, Unmake, and stuff like that, I think you can get away with by just playing Black-White. You could also try out to go Mardu mid-range, So all the stuff that I talked about from Black White, plus magma sprays, maybe some Chandras here and there, and the Hiri as well, as an answer to a tapped Ulamog, for example, or a tapped Marvel. Yeah, so here are those things. A few cards that are at an awkward spot right now, for example, Glorybringer, like, it's not that great against Marvel, because they're just not gonna care that much about this. I mean, 4 in the year is kind of bad, but it's at the same time rather slow. It's very slow against zombies too, so it's basically good against other decks and smarter vehicles. It's also bad against blue control decks. It just doesn't do anything, and it's expensive. Yeah, so I think this card will see a bit less play. Approach is interesting, but I'll just say that the 5-color New Perspectives combo deck is just really not that good. But we might see this card in more streamlined, kind of more mid-rangey control-ish band builds that have been popping out here and there. Just have it in, not as a just combo kill, but just have it as a win condition that you're not really aggressively digging for. Deliverance is interesting, and at the Pro Tour it was really sick to have this card main deck in Marvel for the mirrors, but at the same time it's just of course not great against all the aggro's, but at the same time it's good for mirrors and it's good for barred vehicles, which I once again want to say are not going anywhere. They're gonna die out a little bit, which is good. But people will still play them, especially at the local game stores, so that's still gonna be there. I just don't like how it doesn't really do much against zombies, but on the other hand it has cycling. So it's at that awkward spot that it's good in a few major matchups, and it's just a cycling fodder in a few hours, which is probably like still good. So okay, it's the least awkward ones out of this 3 at least, that's for sure. But I don't know. Something like Sensor I like more, but Yuya played both Sensor and this main deck. Maybe that's still correct. Maybe that's still correct. But the thing is that decks which will try to answer the top tier decks right now wouldn't have targets for deliverance, so that's a bit of a problem. But then there's gonna be cast outs and control decks with white. Oh yeah, but this doesn't target it, right? Because cycling itself is probably still really good. Yeah, sorry for that. So what do we have left? Some rogue thoughts. So hear me out. This deck, coupled with a White Splash for good sideboard tools and SRAM to just really go off like modern style with Cheerios. Let's just say that this plan is a little bit better against zombies, right? And then you don't have the Sahili Cat like combo to be afraid of anymore. Then okay, blue-red is probably pretty bad matchup, but you can fight through that with a decent sideboard, like backup plan with the efficient construction. Then what can I say? Marvel slash Olamog is not like end of the world because you can insta speed out with Virth Invention the reservoir. So, but of course they can also spin the wheel on your turn. I mean, yeah. Well, or at the end of their turn to get the Olamog out at instant speed. but still, it's not the end of the world. You just need to play accordingly and hope they tap out at some point. For example, well, even if they don't have Marvel on board, I think you just go for it because they can play it and like ruin you. But if you lose one reservoir, it's not that bad, and this is why I probably want to play 4 copies. This deck is just interesting spin. Like aggro is better for you, and control a bit worse, but Marvel isn't that bad of a matchup. So this is why, because you have this backup plan in the sideboards. So yeah, you don't automatically lose to Lost Legacy or the Dispossess or whatever. This is an interesting thing because coupled with Bushwhackers and things like that, you can maybe go like this and try to OTK people, meaning that you would just set up a one-turn kill with your creatures with these guys in the merge at the top. So this means playing a lot of tokens and just spamming the board. This means that you're probably gonna have a decent zombies matchup, and then because of this OTK capacity with Bushwhacker and this, you might actually, you know, surprise with a surprise kill Marvel as well if they just put their shields down, or they just don't have that many blockers. Plus the Decimator gives trample out, and it's also trample itself and it's haste itself, so this spells out a lot of damage. So I kind of feel like some red-green emerged rush aggro with tokens should be something that you might want to test out at least. And that deck maybe will feature these guys, so you'll have a free body on board. Then well, you'd probably play the Unbundled Growth, I guess, just to trigger all of those guys. So you'll have 2 mana 4 freeze, and then you just you know, capitalize on all these cheap good threats with the Bushwhackers. Yeah, that's probably the most crazy stuff I'm thinking about. That's probably for your local game stores. So Cutthroat is an ally, Sylvan Advocate is an ally. Then you throw in some more cheap of those guys and the healers, and then probably Grapple with the Past or something like that, or the Green Vessel. You mill your deck, and yeah, then you return all of that stuff, drain them. So I just like this kind of stuff more than the black-green aristocrats with Bontu and Abby. Well, you can still play Abby in this deck, but you don't really have to, because it's not only Cutthroat, but it could be also like one of Bontu as well. But maybe you don't really need it, just not to you know, mess around. You can add a Panharmonicon in there to get double triggers from all the healers and stuff like that, but that's probably not that necessary. But you can play around with different builds. You can also mix up both this sort of healer March combo, and because you're already playing the Cutthroats, you might be adding in the in those colors the Monitors, the 6-drop that spams the Science, and also the Eldritch Displacer. So you can have that combo too as well in the deck. And then Marvel actually is not really bad for you. Mardu is actually also not that bad for you, as long as like you can answer the heart, for example, because all the ground stuff just doesn't really matter that much. So it's worth testing it out. Not sure how much space you'll have for main deck removal, for all those push and making, grasp and declaration, whatever, but you have access to all those, so you'll play a little bit main and then more on the side. Just an interesting deck, probably not gonna ever be competitive, although I played basically something like this, what is it, a year or two ago? I think a year ago, like last spring, at a big open locally. The deck was actually good. I think I just got really unlucky with the drafts. But the standard portion seemed alright because, well, nobody knew how to play around this deck, and it was like actually really sweet to play with. So yeah, um, that's for the main stuff, and now I just want to show you something I really liked that I might be playing in Amsterdam, or at least considering for. So it's a hybrid between um, vehicle stuff and spirits, so you don't really have that many spirits. You don't have rattle chains and what else, and the mausoleums. So by default you only have like one set of actual one drops. You can of course cycle cast outs and sensors, but yeah, so you have basically 10 counters main. You have snare and cast outs, or your counters for the Marvel slash Ulamogs. You have Archangel and Gideons for zombies, and then the real difference comes in with the 4 copies of the Initiate. So it's in place of all those rattle chains and so on, and other spirits. I guess the big point here is the lifelink. Can't really, untap the stuff, so don't have always watching here either, because you just still wanna win against Marvels and blue control decks, for example. But I do like this guy, so yeah. And I guess the real combo here is this guy. So 3-2 for free is not totally ugly in standard, but the thing about it is that even if they're gonna trade with it in the combat, the damage is gonna be done, so you have to like pretty much kill it before it gets to attack, and then you can bring back the initiates or the selfless or the spell coilers, which is like really good. I like this, so you can't really abuse that post board, but whatever. And then you have all the essentials in the sideboards. You have revs, and this deck, like Fumigate is fine just to gain extra life, but you could be trying out the Descent as well for zombies. But this is a tempo deck, so maybe you don't need Descent all that much. Jace could be replaced with something like Pull from Tomorrow, maybe. But I guess it's here just because, it's flexible. And maybe because this is not just control, this is tempo. Negates the spells, Fragmentize for all sort of things, Declaration for zombies, Ulamogs. Settling Valley is good in this meta for all the aggros. Lancers get you Gisela, which is good against aggros. It gets you Avacyn. There's a chance that instead of this Cropmate, something like Talia would be better. But I have to test it out, I guess. Yeah, I just think like Tally might be served better in this deck. So on one hand you get to return a few things, but is it like really good? Yeah, especially with these Lancers sideboard, I think Tally is just better. But yeah, you get the ultimate combo of Gisela plus Bruna after sideboard. You merge them, and it's basically like getting Ormendal. It's like going all in for Abby. It's gonna be pretty hard to lose after that. But even though Ormendal is indestructible, and this thing is gonna be really crazy too when you merge it, but you still, I think, probably can answer it with like same like declaration and stuff. So I really like the deck. Very easy mana base. Really like that. For farmlets is fun because they are actually feeding the towns. So because they have the basic lens types, even though they're not basic itself. Yeah, and also for cycling lens in the tempo track with counters and removal and good frets is just amazing. So yeah, this is what I wanted to share with you guys and wanted to talk about. So I hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to subscribe. And until the next time, goodbye, folks.